Mike Rowe is a good friend of the program, good friend of hard work, good friend of everybody. He's America's next door neighbor. Mike Rowe, welcome to the program. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Glenn. I'm just laughing because some of my next door neighbors may have adopted a slightly different view, but I'm grateful nevertheless.
You know, I've never seen anybody work harder to say the right thing, but to say it in a peaceful way, in a nice way. Not take sides, just not be partisan at all. You're not. You've never said, that Glenn Beck, I agree with him on almost everything. Never. And I wouldn't want you to, because I like you kind of being that guy who just says the common sense things. And
it's confusing.
And yet you're being hammered. Hammered for what, Mike?
Creating confusion. Look, it's just a theory. But we talked about it last time I saw you. The shrinks call it cognitive dissonance. And when people you love do something that disappoints you, it's heartbreaking. And when people you've been trained to sort of despise, or corporations in this case, suddenly do something that you actually really agree with, you're put in a state of confusion. And there are only three things you can do. In this case, we're talking about Walmart pledging to put in $250 billion of U.S. manufacturing, basically promising to buy $250 billion worth of U.S. products over the next 10 years.
That's amazing.
It's a very simple promise, but it's very counterintuitive in a lot of people's minds to what Walmart has become. So when you're confronted with that simple set of facts, which you can really reduce to one sentence on a piece of paper, your options are simple. You can affirmatively say that you want to encourage more of that behavior from other big companies. You can look for the fact that you don't believe them, and you can work very hard to cynically find the flaw or the conspiracy in the pledge, or you can shoot the messenger. And so these are the choices people are working through, and there's a fair amount of gunplay going on.
So, Mike, the latest I heard was now people are tacking on anything, and they're now saying you were fired by Ford.
Right. I was fired by Discovery. I was fired by Ford. I can't get a job. I can't get arrested. My favorite probably...
Well, wait, hang on just a second. You keep going down this road, and believe me, you will get arrested. That you can do.
Well, it's the sellout thing that's the funny part.
Well, you sold out to Walmart, big business, Mike. We're all confused as to why you did that. I mean, big business is inherently evil. We all know that.
Right. And Ford isn't big business.
No, Ford was fine.
Ford was fine. Walmart, evil. Ford, good.
Caterpillar, good. Vivital's bad. Okay.
Right.
Let's just go down the list. I mean, I got my start in the home shopping industry. I get it. I've worked for 25 years in commercial television. People always laugh, when we sit down and talk about TV, and I always try and correct them and say, look, the world would be a simpler, better, easier to understand place if the word television was always preceded by the word commercial. And then we would understand how the bills are paid. In a couple of minutes, you're going to take a break and you're going to talk about one of your sponsors. And that's not a bad thing. That's what makes it all work. So, it's kind of indulgent to sit back. I've got a lot of friends who are actors who do the same sort of thing I do, who would never be caught in a shot, for instance, with an integration. I'm not going to stand next to the Chevy. I'm not going to stand next to the thing or do this or that. That's an offense to my art. Like, dude, you work in commercial television. You're on commercial radio. What lake of purity did you crawl from? And how can you find yourself so morally outraged by the fact that your salary and your producer's salary, all those bills are getting paid? And as far as the viewer goes, well, look, guys, if you don't like it, welcome to the world of pay everything.
Yeah.
So, Mike, let me ask you this. Last night, we went to the movie Nonstop. And I don't want to spoil any of it, but you know right from the beginning that the killer is the guy who says, "Are you going to Amsterdam?" Oh, spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah.
So I was so outraged, even in New York City. And you know New York City isn't exactly Texas. And even in New York City, where we're in this crowd, we're watching this movie, and it reveals that the killer is a guy who believes, or two guys that believe in the Constitution.
Ex-military.
They're ex-military.
Served in Iraq and Afghanistan.
They're concerned about this big government state, and they're the terrorist.
Right.
And even in New York City, the people were like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me."
Yeah.
I mean, it was offensive. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a boycott guy. I'm really not a boycott guy. And it was a good movie. But I said this morning on the air, don't go see that movie. Don't put your money into that movie. Because, I mean, Hollywood, what else? Really? Those are the only bad guys in the world you can find?
Yeah, it's somehow become really fashionable to turn convention on its head and to challenge every single thing. And there's a tipping point, right? Because you don't want to be the person who just goes along in the most predictable fashion imaginable. But by the same token, if you redefine every single expectation, then there's just nothing to hold on to. You know, it's that mix between certainty and uncertainty. You know, it's not blue collar or white collar. It's not white hat or black hat. The world's complicated, but for crying out loud,
I know.
You know, give us a little something to hang on to.
Mike,
Something.
Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to offer that we'll post your resume because I know you're so desperate
Oh, my
for work.
gosh.
You can't find a job.
You can't even get one of those dirty jobs anymore.
No, you can't.
Nobody
No.
will hire you.
Nobody will hire you.
Jeez.
Nobody wants you to do anything. Here's how ridiculous this is. I can't afford to hire Mike. I'd love to hire Mike. I couldn't afford to get him to read one line for the Blaze. But I'll put your resume out on the Blaze. So
I'm grateful. Maybe
I can't promise. I can't make any promises, Mike. But I want you to hold on to hope.
How about just a couple of words? Not a whole line. I mean, I realize things are tight over there, too. So I'll give you 3 vowels, 7 consonants. Group them up however you want. I'll say anything.
You just say, I tell you what, I know I can't get you to say the Blaze. You just say zzz.
How about the blah? You know, because
The blah.
A's and Z's are contractually problematic for me. So, you know, tune in to the blah. And people will know.
And then we can edit where you've said a Z word somewhere else, and we'll put it together.
Or I'll get a celebrity voice impersonator.
Perfect.
Just to go.
Perfect.
All right, Mike, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, and if you're keeping count, I have 9,000 form letters currently sitting in my inbox from an organization called Jobs with Justice. 9,000.
Jobs with Justice.
They all say the exact same thing. And I don't know where this ends. I know you've been here before, so let's stay in touch. I'm curious.
Wait a minute.
Is that about the Walmart thing?
Wait, what's Jobs for Justice? What the hell is that?
Okay, so what's happened is there's a massive letter writing campaign going on, being fueled by a company or an organization who wants me to sit down and talk with unhappy Walmart workers. Now, what I've explained maybe 10, 20,000 times is that I set up a foundation and a scholarship fund designed to help retrain people who want to learn a skill that's in demand. And in large part, I did it for the kinds of folks who feel disenfranchised and really unhappy in their work. I've said to them, look, this is how I think I can be of use to your members. And they've said, no, we need you to sit down with them and have a meaningful dialogue so you can rethink your position with Walmart. At which point I've said, guys, I don't have a position with Walmart. I'm simply patting them on the back for putting a chunk of money in the USA. And they've said, well, we don't see it that way. So now I've got 9,000 letters. My foundation is heaving as they try and process all this. And reporters are disappointed because I haven't got back to them quickly enough because all their requests for interviews are buried in an avalanche of identical demands from an organization that I had never heard of 3 days ago.
Unbelievable.
I will tell you, I'm just looking up Jobs with Justice. We'll look into this for you, but I don't know anything about this organization, but I'll bet you I can tell you
Just
where...
the name tells you everything
I
you
can
need
tell
to
you
know
where some of
about
the
them.
money is coming from. Give me a day and I'll tell you who this organization is. But I'm sorry you're going through this, Mike. They do everything they can. You're a very powerful voice. That is the secret. You're a very powerful voice. America relates to you, and they're going to do everything they can to destroy you now. And they're going to try. First, they'll try to teach you a lesson. And if you don't learn that lesson, the lesson they want you to learn, which is you only do the things we approve, not what you're thinking. You know, you don't have a right to be an independent-minded person. If you do, you'll pay a heavy price. You know, and each of us have to figure out that ending for ourselves. But you're entering into a not fun world, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, but you know something? I don't feel victimized by it. I feel like there really is an opportunity to engage and talk, but it is exhausting, and
part of it.
Sometimes, and look, they obviously understand. If you're a small operation, you can't respond to 9,000 people individually. But if you don't, then you're a guy who didn't take the time to respond individually.
Well, they're sending 9,000 form letters to you, so you can send one form letter to all 9,000 people.
Yeah, I tried that. Didn't work. I posted it. I was super polite and everything, but no, that's
not good enough.
Mike, you know who else went through this? Is the rapper. He's married to Beyonce.
Oh,
what is it? What's his name?
I'm afraid to guess wrong because that'd
be
racist.
Is it
Jay-Z?
Yes.
Nice.
We got Z.
Now we have Blaze.
That's not really working. That doesn't work. Now we have You're listening to the Blaze. That doesn't really work.
Nice try, though.
It's all we can afford, quite frankly. So,
look, you do not want to be the Blase. Take it from a marketing guy. That's not the name.
When we're not, we're very different. We're the Blase.
You're so continental.
I know. Not to be confused with the bourgeoisie. Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
It's incomprehensible.
It's outrageous.
You can't even do commercials for people anymore,
right?
Without stepping. I mean, and then they will come down on you.
And it's a way to shut down opinion because a guy like Mike is smart enough to know he's getting 9,000 form letters, but a lot of these companies get these form letters and they're like, oh, well, I can't believe people must be really upset. No, they have an email list.
This is really bad.
Yeah,
it's really bad. This is freedom of speech, gang. This is freedom of speech, and every American needs to understand. Here's a guy, he's never said anything about the president, his policies, or anything else. He's talking common sense. He's saying, hey, I can find a job for you right now, a $100,000 job. I can find it for you. You're going to have to work with Caterpillar, but Caterpillar will train you. So you want a job? Here's what you do.
Absolutely.
He's not talking politics.
And the interesting thing is, we used to say, well, yeah, that's still freedom of speech because sometimes your speech has consequences and people lose their jobs over it. But it has gotten to the ridiculous point now.
You can't
where they're going to take your job from you if you have said something they don't like.
And they're taking somebody. They take somebody like Mike, who's highly intelligent, very successful, very unique, and very, very public. And if you can crucify him, you scare everybody else. Down the line. It's what bullies do. Just an amazing conversation with Mike Rowe. I didn't know that he was, I knew that he was getting pushback. I didn't know that they had now started to boycott him and try to do all of that stuff. Jeez.
It's unbelievable. I'm looking at the Jobs with Justice website, and there's two big photos, and one of them is his. And you can write an open letter to Mike Rowe. I mean,
looks like it's a big union group. Quick look is, partners with the AFL-CIO and SEIU and all the same people that are always complaining about Walmart.
And it looks like it's all about Walmart, isn't it?
Let's find out more.
Yeah, I'm just giving you the basic thing. But, if it's a union, you know where the funding comes from. I mean, I don't need to say the word George and Soros next to each other for you to know it's coming. It's going to be some group related to him and the groups he funds, along with other names you're familiar with.
This Walmart hysteria is stupid.
It really is.
So stupid.
They've look, I'm a mom and pop store kind of guy. I like mom and pop stores.
Well, Walmart started out as one.
I know. So I like mom and pop stores, and I know that they have hurt a lot of mom and pop stores, but they have also helped many, many, many millions of people be able to afford things that they wouldn't be able to afford before.
Let's say they cave into all the demands of jobs with justice.
How many people are going to be hurt?
Yeah, what the hell do you think is going to happen to the prices at Walmart? You want them to just absorb all the price increases?
They're trying to do they're trying to do to every town what these unions and everybody else did to Detroit.
Right.
If you want that, go ahead. Do it. I don't want that. I think what happened to Detroit is a crime. Detroit was one of the greatest cities in America, did some of the greatest things in America. I mean, between its auto plants and the dreams that came out of those factories to the music that came out of Detroit, it was one of the greatest cities in American history, and we've destroyed it because of justice. It doesn't work that way. Oh, man. You know what? I don't. We are not going to win, gang, if we are playing at the end. If we are playing at the polling booth and we are playing at the news cycle, we're not going to win. We have to make sure that somebody is standing up for the news. We need to make sure that we are politically active. But we also must get into culture. We have to get into culture because where they have gotten us is culture. We've got to stand at the doors of education. We have to stand at the gates of our state and say, no, states' rights. We are not having national curriculums. We're not having national standards. No, we stand as individuals. Look, if you want to, if your state wants to do that, great. But even the Google guys, when I said to them, I said, look, how do you have invention? Because we're headed for universal health care. And what you're talking about is destructive innovation. How do you have that when the state controls everything? And he said, and this Eric Schmidt, he said, well, you can't. I mean, even if 49 states decide to do something, he said there has to be one state that is trying. There needs to be laboratories. Yes, that's what states' rights are about. Laboratories, individual laboratories, trying something, being free to try something so we can make the world a better place. Wow. I think that works. A lot of people say, how'd you get Mike Rowe to do...
that must have cost a fortune.
Cost a fortune. We're like, hey, that's just the way we roll.
Whatever.
So play it again, because that's really remarkable.
Tune in to the Blazy.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Pretty good.
Just amazing.
That's impressive.
Don't, man, because he has more money than I do. He might sue the crap out of me.